Yeah. Do we have hot water? Yep. I actually have my own tea. If that's okay.
Hi, I'm Tracey, and I'm the founder of Time for Tea. Time for Tea stands for Talk, Empower, and Affirm. We exist to produce confidence in women and girls in our community by bringing them together to create open and honest conversations. Our vision is to see diversity in age and culture between women and girls and bringing them together to learn from one another. In 2020, we were able to do a lot of great things. However, we have some aggressive goals in 2021, such as expanding our brand nationally, also being able to target and train 100 girls in our community on etiquette and social skills. And we also want to continue to host quarterly events, whether they're in person or virtually. We also hope this year to really engage our women. So you're going to see a lot more activity on our YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe. And we're also starting a private Facebook page as well to share more information and create more dialogue with you guys. So with an aggressive goal in 2021, we also need really great people on our team. So we're looking for you. Bloggers, writers, videographers, photographers, content creators. If you're creative and you want to be part of something big and that's different and unique, make sure you send us an email. Make sure you head over to www.time4torlando so that you can learn more. And you can also learn about how we're serving confidence with a cup of tea.
Unless you'd like this one. We're about to spill the tea.
Oh, sorry. Literally.
You
not,
are
not
ready.
figuratively.
She's ready to
We
spill
don't
this
miss
tea.
prior to tea. No, just literally.
Good evening, ladies. We are live on Facebook and YouTube. Welcome to everyone this evening to our Women's History Month in-person and virtual tea talk, where we will be talking about everything, women's equality, rights, as we choose to challenge whatever that may be in your world this evening. And so we're going to have a wonderful conversation with our lovely guests, Miss Rosene Johnson, Miss Kay Rawlins, and Gigi Mormon. And so I'm going to hand it over to Tracey to kick it off and tell us a little bit more about Time for Tea.
Yes, sorry, I was trying to start a watch party. I didn't finish yet. Well, first of all, thank you guys so much for being here. I was so honored when I reached out to you and you all said yes to be here with us. But a little bit about Time for Tea. So T stands for Talk, Empower, and Affirm. And this is an organization that basically came about 3 years ago, and it was just about finding ways to involve women in the community through tea in very fun and playful ways, but also curating open and honest conversation. And then we also started to expand in schools and do things online for youth, especially with the pandemic. We transitioned to some online programs. And actually, Rosene is one of the people that have worked with us because we came to her school and done this. So that was a lot of fun. But we finally incorporated to a nonprofit late last year. So now we are a nonprofit. Yeah, so we have the Time for Tea foundation that we're working on building. Our team is growing. You guys probably saw a few of our helpers here, all great people. So that's Time for Tea. And, you know, we're hoping to grow and take this to another city and all that other good stuff. So I'm super excited. So I'm going to kick us off because we only have an hour and I know we're going to have some great conversations. So, and I'm just going to introduce the women that are here with us. So we have Rosene Johnson here to my left, and she's the executive director at PACE Center for Girls. So PACE is a transformational youth program providing education and mental health counseling services for girls ages 11 to 18, overcoming unresolved trauma while helping them reach their highest potential in school and in life. So let me just tell you guys, Rosene is awesome. She wears a lot of hats.
So sweet.
She's amazing. She's energetic, innovative, results-oriented. She's a great leader, very passionate, and she's been recognized by the Orlando Business Journal as a top 40 under 40 business leader. Career achievements include developing and implementing successful corporate social engagement strategies. She's also a published author, and she's done research in the child development field. She was also appointed by Governor Rick Scott to serve as the Valencia College Board of Trustees. She was also recently named in the Orlando Sentinel list of 10 people who make Orlando a better place, featured as one of Orlando's Family Magazine Superwomen and one of Orlando's 2020 Women of the Year by Orange Appeal Magazine, which I was there to see her receive that award, so that was awesome. And the African American Women's History Month Project. So that is amazing, Rosene, and she also does a whole lot of other stuff that's not on here, like travels and does training and all types of stuff. So she's a boss babe. All right, so then we have Kay Rawlins, and I had the pleasure of meeting Kay Rawlins. I would say maybe 2 years ago I met you, and let me just say, when you reach out to someone on Facebook and ask for their time, they normally don't give it to you. But Kay Rawlins was so nice, and there's just certain people that I see in Orlando that I'm like, I don't think I'll ever meet this person in life, but I'm just gonna try. And I shot my shot, and she welcomed me. We had coffee, and it was great. So I'm gonna talk a little about her, but she's the founder and owner of Orlando City Soccer Club and serves as the Senior VP of Community Relations and the president of the foundation. So her role includes speaking engagements on behalf of the club, community outreach, sending players to schools and youth groups, and encouraging staff and fans to join community projects. She heads up the Orlando City Foundation and is a board member for the Boys and Girls Club of Central Florida, Cannonball Kids Cancer, Central Florida's Foundation, Four Rivers Foundation, Commission of Homelessness, Florida Sports Foundation, Wise Greater Orlando, and is on the advisory committee of the U.S. Global Leadership Coalition. And
When do you sleep?
she does a lot.
Yes.
Yes.
Drinks a lot of tea.
Yes. So Kay gave a talk at TEDx Orlando 2017 and was also awarded the 2016 Businesswoman of the Year by the Orlando Business Journal, Corporate Ally of the Year 2019 by the Pride Chamber, and included in Florida's Trend 500 most influential business leaders in 2020. So that is awesome. So thank you for being with us, Kay Rawlins. And then we have Gigi Mormon. So Gigi Mormon is also someone that I met when I first arrived to Orlando, and she just has a great big heart. And I loved reading your bio and everything that you've done, especially through the pandemic, starting your own business, and how you really are looking to grow the give back to the youth and have your own daughter as an intern and really teaching her. So I'm going to read a little bit about Gigi as well. So the power of a committed realtor offers unparalleled value, which it comes to buying and selling your home. So no one understands this better than Gigi Mormon. She's the owner and broker of Orlando-based iConnect Real Estate. She provides a full-service boutique real estate experience throughout Florida with realtors connected locally in Central Florida and South Florida. From her career, she's been a licensed broker realtor. She's a member of the Orlando Regional Realtors Association and Miami Association of Realtors, accredited buyers representative, price strategy analyst, and Gold Key certification. And she's currently working on her Graduate Realtor Institute and CRX designation. She was also awarded Orlando Business Journal Broker Profile of Color of Real Estate 2020, Orlando Business Journal Diversity and Home Honoree 2020, Orange County Florida Citizen of the Year 2019, Women on the Rise Orlando's Women on the Rise 2018. She's a Kappa Alpha Psi designated Citizen Award, Good Neighbor Award from Orlando Regional Realtors Association, and the list goes on. So, and she is super involved in the community. She gives back. She's appointed Orange County representative for Community Advisors Committee for Metropolitan Orlando and a Metropolitan Regional Planning Organization for Greater Orlando. She's the board member of TGI. I have to say everything. That's awesome. I need people to understand the caliber of women that we have here that are really moving and shaping Orlando. And then she's also the co-founder of grassroots nonprofit Space to Grow. And there's a lot more. Sorry.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, super excited to have them. And I am just Tracey. But I'm also the founder of Time for Tea Orlando.
Yes.
And we also have Ursula James here, who is our PR manager, and she does a really great job with this as well. So super excited to have all of us here. So we're going to talk about Women's History Month and all of the awesome things that we're doing to celebrate women. So we also have a live audience here. Thank you guys for joining us. So I do want to say, definitely feel free to say anything if you have to. And then we also have an audience watching us. So if you guys have any questions along the way, we don't want you to forget them. Please write them down. We will have an opportunity to ask questions. And yeah, we're just going to get started. So first, I'm going to just kick off this conversation in terms of Women's History Month. So my first question is, you know, we've celebrated International Women's Day on March 8th. What does this day mean to you, and who are some of the women that inspire you? So I'm going to start with Rosene.
Well, again, you're fully not just Tracey.
Thank you.
So we have to pause there, because it's one thing to be able to be gifted something or to do something. It's a totally different thing to create something out of nothing, and that's what you have done.
Yes.
So thank you for having us here, and thank you for being an amazing founder. So thank you. I think what International Women's Day means for me in Women's History Month, it really is about, of course, looking at the past and recognizing how far we have come as women. But for me, the energy comes from where we are going. And I'm really blessed to work with young girls, teenage girls, every day. Yes, every day.
You deserve a medal just for that. Just for that.
You know, some days, I'm telling you. But really though, it really is energizing to see how brilliant, how confident, just how confident these girls are at 12, 13, 14 years old, and recognizing where they are headed. So Women's History Month for me is really about seeing the fact that they had the opportunity to realize that what was our ceiling has already become their floor. And that's very, very exciting and energizing for me.
I love that. That was awesome.
Oh, yes. Well, the women up here, of course. Really, truly. In all honesty, it still boggles my mind that I'm sitting next to a founder. We have one of the few female owners of a sports team ever in like history sitting right next to us, and she's in our midst. And of course, Gigi, I was like, oh my gosh, you're like the Beyonce of real estate out here. It was like, she's got all the awards, but to be here. So obviously, definitely role models. I'm only here because of my mentors, and my mentor is Dr. Stacey Pierce. She is my ultimate role model because she is a woman that has trailblazed on her own. I'm a serial entrepreneur and business owner. I see her create that same legacy in her children and her daughter now. They actually have their own businesses together, which is really, really phenomenal. So she is a huge role model and my mentor. And the first entrepreneur I ever saw was my mom, who is 80 years old. She lives in Lansing, Michigan. She's healthy. She still runs outside every day. And to be able to see that at a very young age and to realize that there really weren't barriers unless she created them was really important for me to see as a kid.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I mean, similar in terms of looking back, all of the things that have happened. And I am hopeful, but I'm also taken aback by how far we still have to go. And I've been in an international conference this week on female leadership in sport, and it's it's not good. It's really not good. And so, but on the hopeful side, and I am definitely a glass half full person. The number of young women who've reached out to me since then, and I've been on Clubhouse for the last 2 days as well, with people. Oh my gosh, if you haven't been on, guys, seriously, it's amazing. I love it because it's like going into a lecture, sitting at the back of the room and going, this one, no. And there's a little leave quietly button and you just back out. But there have been so many great discussions, and there was one on Monday with all these young women from across the globe who were all on this call doing International Women's Day. And I just loved how much they were uplifting, encouraging, and inspiring each other. And we've moved on from that. Women don't support women. Yeah, they do. They really do. And I think here in Central Florida, we have an amazing network of women. So I do not buy into that whole thing anymore. So I am, on the whole, I'm hopeful. Just sport needs to catch up a little bit. And then role models. I mean, my mom, obviously, I'm one of 5, and I don't know how she kept us all in check, especially when they were like me. And then I also, Michelle Obama, I really admire her. 2 of our players on the Pride, so we also have the women's team, Orlando Pride, and 2 of our players just adopted a baby, Ashlyn Harris and Ali Krieger, and she called them, and so they did a FaceTime call with her. I texted them after and said, I'm so jealous. But she's been such an inspiration. I loved her book, and she continues to be an inspiration. So.
She's a good one. She's a really good one. I have to say, I love the fact that you wear purple so often, because that's the team color.
I'm
so you're on
brand.
Yeah.
Even the flowers, guys. Thank you.
So for me, International Women's Day and Women's Month, for me, is a showering of love. It's all these different women that are shouting out their girlfriends, shouting out their mothers, shouting out their sisters, their friends, and saying thank you, and saying let's do this together. For me, it's every month that we're celebrating Women's History Month and celebrating fabulous women that have done amazing things. So I'm one of those people that wants us to continue it. I love the fact that we have a month just because it's centralized. People be very critical of heritage celebrations being a month long and different things that take place. But I just think it brings the joy. It brings the joy, it brings the awareness, it brings the connectivity, it brings the fun. So I say anything that's bringing those elements together is all great. Women's History Month will continue to grow, and the events that take place around it in terms of connectivity will continue to grow, and I look forward to that. I do believe that there's so many opportunities for us in sports and in different industries for us to truly show how capable we are. And if you just open up the ceiling and let us through, they'd be amazed at the creativity that comes out of it, and the productivity and the relationships. Women are really great at building strong relationships, built on trust and built on honesty, and gratitude. We're appreciative of the deals that we get into. We're appreciative of the people that are in our lives. In terms of role models, absolutely my mom. She opened the door for us by coming to this country as an immigrant and wanting more for us. And the thing I learned from her was that each generation is responsible to be better than the generation before it. So the doors that she opened for me were not as big as the doors were opened for her, but the doors that I'm opening for my daughter are absolutely tenfold bigger than what I had opened for me at her age. So to be able to know that my mom, that's her legacy. We have a lupus walk team every October. It's TT's legacy. So I love the fact that we are still keeping her alive and that we're doing things beyond her wildest dreams, our ancestors' wildest dreams.
It's amazing. Awesome. That's awesome. And I love how you talked about if they would just open the ceilings, we could just come through. So, which leads us to the next point very nicely. So studies show women are severely underrepresented, especially in C-suite leadership positions. So I'm just going to read some quick stats. But studies show that women represent 2/3 of all minimum wage workers in the United States. Only 25% of C-suite positions are held by women. The highest paid senior woman earned 81 cents to the dollar that a man did. C-suite is less diverse as you go by race. So racially diverse executives only hold 16% of total C-suite positions, and less than 6% of those are actually African American women, and less than 1%, to be exact, it was like 0.8 or something, are Hispanic women. Women held 38% of entry-level management positions in 2020, while men held 62%. A standard criteria for C-level roles is proven history and responsibility, allocating resources across operations and financial results. So in other words, P&L management. And only 42% of women leaders actually get the opportunity to manage a profit and loss statement. So this automatically disqualifies women sometimes from moving up into corporate C-level positions. So with all of that being said, each of you have definitely broken through that barrier. You've either started your own firm, you started your own team, and you're an executive. So you've definitely broken through these, all these barriers. So I want to ask you, in terms of this, what are your thoughts on the current gaps that we have in terms of opportunities to break through these barriers and representation and leadership roles for women? So what's the gap? What is it that's holding us back from being able to fill these roles more? I'll ask either of you.
Gosh. Go on. I think one of the things is we need to have more support from the men that are in those positions because they can be the sponsor / mentor, but the sponsor is that person, that senior level executive who, when the job cuts have to come, that sponsor has your back behind closed doors saying, no, you're not going to get rid of Kay because I know Kay's potential.
Yeah.
And if we just help her along, she will be better than any other executive that we've trained, for the future to come. So I definitely think that we have to continue to have our allies, which are the male executives, who will help to open those doors. I mean, to me, it's the logical solution. If the men are at all the tables and the men are at those high positions, then they are the ones, just like they had to help minorities to get into high-level positions, they have to identify women and help them get the training to be able to be in those positions and help open the doors for P&L and help open the doors for operations so that they have those opportunities.
Yeah, that's great.
I sat on a panel, probably last year, I think it was. No, the year before, because last year nobody did anything. So year before, 2019, last year was a blur, right?
Yeah.
And I sat on a panel with Kelly Tillman, who is a PGA golfer, a female golfer. And when she retired, she was able to move into broadcasting. And she became one of the first female commentators on the game. But we were talking to a big audience of students, and she said the comments that she received as the female, not because of what she said, because she said something stupid. It was all about what she was wearing, her hair, her cleavage or non-cleavage, or whatever it was. And she told a story about an anchor in Australia who got so tired of his female counterpart getting all this mess on social media, all these bad comments, that he wore the same suit every day until somebody noticed.
Wow.
A year went past.
Oh, wow.
No.
A year. This is online. You can look at. I looked it up after. I was like, what?
Yeah.
A whole year. And so then they obviously brought it out on the show and said, here's the list of all the things you've said about my co-anchor. And then here's all the pictures of me. I'm wearing the same suit and nobody's said anything. And so one of the things Kelly said to the audience, and I've taken it with me since then, is to the guys in the room, this is not an attack on you. This is an appeal. We need you. We need you to be our allies, our accomplices. When someone says something like that, that could be your mom, your sister, your daughter at some point in the future. Do you want her to be treated like that? Call them out, tell them to stop it. And similar to you, we need allies. Think of the LGBTQ movement, how that has changed when the allies got involved, when you know, the straight people jumped in. Look how far we've come now with the LGBTQ community, and so we need the guys, and we've pushed them into these corners with the Me Too's, and you know, I'm not saying they didn't deserve it. Don't get me wrong.
Some of them did.
Some of them did, but when you get pushed into a corner, you come out fighting. And instead, we need to be offering that hand of you know, please help. You know, we need you on our side.
Yeah, that's good. I think that we also need to be allies to each other, right? You know, when I started thinking about the list of all the different things, you have to learn the P&L, you have to learn all of that. I think sometimes our biggest critics can be ourselves and the people around us. Because I taught myself how to, Lord knows I could not handle an accounting class. So I taught myself how to read a P&L. I taught myself how to do a budget. But the point behind all of that is that I was willing to do the work, and I was willing to do it afraid. And I think sometimes as women, we have to continue to be willing to do it afraid. So I heard what you just said, and that was so powerful. And on the flip side of that, Kelly still had to show up to work every day.
Oh yeah.
Right.
She still showed up, but even with all of that, she still showed up, she still did her job, and she still did it afraid. And even though it hurt, and I'm not saying anybody needs to go through that, but I think sometimes we pull away too soon before we can really get the breakthrough. And I think for women, as for all of those things you mentioned, sometimes we do have to continue to do it afraid until we break through, because then we'll really see what happens on the other side. And then that opens up the door for those allies to be there. We can't quit so soon.
It's just a really good point, because statistically they say that women are less likely to apply for a promotion because they can't see themselves accomplishing 90% of the goal or the tasks that are needed for that function. Whereas men can be 25% qualified, and they'll apply for it, and oftentimes they'll get it.
Exactly.
But our fear holds us back.
Well, it's
So we do have to let go of that and take those leaps, and look for those opportunities, or take the opportunities when they're presented.
It's the same thing, you know, when my friends and I were laughing. I have some friends that are single, and they're like, I just don't understand. The guys that I want to come and talk to me don't say anything. But the guys that have nothing, they're the first people that are in my face. And I'm just like, but it really is that mentality of they have the confidence, they're willing to stand up, and it doesn't matter. Oh, you don't like the one, go to the next one. But somebody is going to say yes, right? And I think sometimes, and I think sometimes as women, to your point, we have to know, okay, maybe you won't say yes, you won't say yes, you won't say yes, but somebody in this room is going to say yes to me. And I'm going to keep going until I get to my yes.
That's good.
Indeed, correct.
Well, since we're on the topic of women and the rate of men versus women into roles, I will move on to talking about 2019 and how it was a blur. You all mentioned that. So COVID-19 pandemic has been especially harmful financially for women, as they've lost their jobs at greater rates than men. So Forbes states that the pandemic set women back by decades, calling it the she session. The she session layoffs impacted women much more this time. An estimated 865,000 women left their left their jobs altogether in 2020, compared to 216,000 men. That's 1 in 4 women considering to step back away from their position. So in September of 2020, given those challenges of balancing work, children, and homeschooling, 4 times as many women voluntarily left their jobs. So with that being said, what kind of opportunities have you seen women, particularly here in Central Florida or just Florida abroad, in making opportunities for themselves, because so many women have had to take the role of staying at home or homeschooling, or now they're back in school, but early on in 2020. What do you think are some opportunities for women?
I mean, I'd be interested to see the statistics on who else has started a business at home. Because I feel like, I feel like that I've definitely heard of different people who've done that, and I've had people reach out to me who've done that. So that will be an interesting statistic at some point. And there have been opportunities in other realms that maybe people hadn't thought about before, and because they've taken some time out. I mean, hey, who hasn't been reflecting on what am I doing with my life? And, everyone's been doing that. So I think, I will be interested to see what's happened. And even where we're sitting right now, how cool that there is now another co-working space right here in Orlando, so that people who are starting their own businesses don't have to shell out for all of that, all those overheads that you have when you start a business. How amazing you've got somewhere like this that you can come and you can feed off the energy of other people that are around you. Somebody can build you a website, and someone else can help you with your finance piece, or someone can help you write a business plan. So I would be really interested to see what has happened while we've all been locked away in our homes.
What the numbers really?
Yeah.
What the numbers.
One of the
really
stats,
consist of.
according to Wallet Hub, was that Florida is actually one of the highest percentage of women-owned businesses right now due to
Yay.
it.
Good.
With Alaska, Colorado, and Virginia also being in that top running.
Florida's a very busy.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see what women come up with while they're home with their families. I was just watching a TV show, an interview with the founder of Poo-Pourri. And who doesn't know Poo-Pourri? And she just came up with the idea at home. And then she tested it on her family members and everybody that came in the house. She was like, okay, you go to the bathroom, what are you going to do? One or two? Like, she literally was like, do you have one or two to do? Like, why are you asking? Because if you have two, here, spray this before you go. But now look at where that has grown to. I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar business in a little bottle that she just experimented with. And what I was motivated by when I was watching her story was that she had gone through so many failures. She'd gone through bankruptcy. She'd gone through, I think, divorce. And so those things that will set you back, I find for women, I definitely have found for myself that those things that could hold you back actually become that fight or flight. Okay, so now I'm working from home, or I don't have a job, but I'm home with the kids. We do need some extra income. What can I do? And I think in this space of virtual work from home, that a lot of the women should take this opportunity to think about what are the things that they've always wanted to do. And while the kids are doing their thing, you do your thing, do your research, and try to invent something, talk to other people. I think the other thing they have to do is to not isolate themselves. So make sure that they create a village, an online village of people that they can do Zoom face-to-face conversations with. I talk to my girlfriend in Spain all the time, and that's how we stay connected via Zoom. So I think if we're using it as a creative opportunity versus going by the whole hum, I can't believe that this has happened. There was a period of my life of 5 years where I was laid off 3 times from corporate America. And at the end of that, I was like, I can't do it anymore. I need to figure out a different way so that I'm in control. And your statistics about Florida, I definitely know that that's true here in Central Florida. There are so many entrepreneurs that have been built, right, Jalen, Marceline, over the last 10 years. You built your business, Tracey. You're continuing to build your business and growing that network of people who know about it. Those are the types of things that we have to encourage women who have been laid off to do. My sister was just laid off a couple of months ago, and now she's working real estate with me. If we can keep that going so that she doesn't have to go back to corporate America, then that's awesome. But we've also been trying to think about what else can we do. Maybe we can branch out to mobile notary so that there's income streams coming in from all these different avenues. When COVID hit, I couldn't do any events. So with my Raise Your Glass promotions business, which I had had for almost 8 years, if I had just had that solely, I'd be broke. We wouldn't have had any food. But I had another line of business that I could tap into, and fortunately that line of business grew during COVID versus, distracting from COVID. So I think it's really about focusing, do some meditations while you're home. I did the Deepak Chopra 21-day abundance meditation right before COVID hit. And it put me in the right mindset, because if I didn't put out there the abundance that I want in my life, I can't get it. You don't see it, you don't plan it for yourself, you don't do a vision board, those types of things. You don't mentally prepare yourself for more. You won't have more.
Yeah, and that's good. There's a saying from Eleanor Roosevelt that we like to use at Time for Tea. It's, you never know how strong, well, a woman is like a bag of tea. You don't know how strong she is until you put her in hot water.
Right.
So totally with what you're saying, the pandemic, I think, really cornered a lot of people. I mean, even with the statistics of women losing their jobs, some of them even resigning voluntarily, really put us in a position of like, okay, so what's next? Yeah. Rosene, did you want to share anything?
And yes, and thank you. I definitely agree here with these lovely ladies on the panel and second all of that. And I think that when there are hard times, we know that just as women, we naturally become innovators. One of the most powerful things I think I saw, and I was actually just finishing up the panel and someone brought it up to me, was the female owner of Bumble. She, her company she did her IPO, and she was standing there at the stock exchange with her child on her hip, and she rang the bell. And that was powerful for me for 3 reasons. One was that, of course, it's a woman-owned company with her child on her hip. So talk about the fact that, there aren't any more excuses, right? I'm here at the stock exchange and I've got my son with me as he's watching me ring this bell because now I'm a publicly traded company. 2, it really let me know that where we are right now as women is we definitely need multiple streams, and we really need to be thinking wealth accumulation. And I'm very grateful for many of the groups that I'm in. I'm in trading groups, I'm in investment groups, because we're looking at wealth. It's one thing to have cash, it's a totally different thing to have wealth. And when you start talking about recession, now what you're dealing with is you can have cash on hand, but if you don't have wealth to sustain you, you won't survive, which is what the third piece of that is that I thought it was amazing that you have a female at the stock exchange ringing that bell. And what that let me know is that this is the time for more women to really, truly start looking into and getting into investing, really being able to take those assets and invest it and gain more. So for me and a lot of my friends, what we did over the pandemic, several of them did lose their jobs. One of my friends, she was in corporate America, making well over 6 figures. I mean, her commission was $20,000 a month. She walked away because she started day trading and investing, and now she's making more doing that from home than she was in her corporate job. And so that's what we do. And for me, I love what I do. I will be at Pace as long as they will have me. So whoever is listening, please know I love what I do. And it was also a wake-up call for me, though, that your job was never designed to make you wealthy, and your job can never be a source of security. Our funds come from the government. So if the government is in recession, what are they going to cut? They're going to cut their government funding. And we saw that. We saw nonprofits like never before shutting their doors because they couldn't exist. Thank God we weren't one of them, but we easily could have been. And what that clicked into my mind is that, again, multiple streams, but you also have to take control of your own financial future. So I ascribe to now the Janet Jackson mentality of finances, which is I'm going to take control. So my husband can do what he wants to do, and that's great. But I have my own trading accounts. I have my own investments. I invest in my own cryptocurrency. I see my own portfolio growing because that's mine, and I'm not going to put my assets, my financial control, or my financial future in anybody else's hands, whether it's my job, my husband, my family, or not. I'm going to create it. And I think for women, I think what we need to be doing back to this point is that, yes, you start that business, but now let's think about how do you accumulate wealth? What are you going to do with those profits? Don't just go out and go ahead, please buy your Prada bag. I want you to have the bag. Go buy it. And go get educated on cryptocurrency. Buy you some Bitcoin so that by the time you buy the bag, your Bitcoin has gone up. You paid for your bag with your Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
Do that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's great. And I know and I know for me, especially through the pandemic, because I have a lot of talents and I'm always doing something different. Mm-hmm. But I know for me through the pandemic, one of the biggest wake-up calls was I have this passion for music. Like I love singing. I've been singing since I came out of my mom's womb. And with, with corporate America or just with my job, which again, I love my job, but with the job, you do find that you start to struggle with like your passion versus you having to make this income and the security. But the pandemic and COVID really put me in a position of like, okay, now I'm home. Because I used to travel. I was like traveling to Chicago. I was like traveling for work. And then I was like, okay, well now what am I gonna do? And I was like, let me just make music. And then I just decided to fully focus on it so much more. And now I have a manager, Rhonda, who's here. But it's done. I mean, if you follow me on social media and stuff, you'll see. But I'm doing so much more that way, and I can still do that and still do my corporate job. And eventually trading. I know we need to do that.
Yes.
I need to get on her
Join the club, girl. Come on now.
Because I'm
You need to do your own webinar or
Right.
something.
I do. Bitcoin's almost at 60. Let's go. Come on, let's get it.
I got it early.
Listen, I'm telling you. Woo,
Yeah,
this has been a great year.
Yeah, but definitely I think the pandemic gave me, at least personally, it gave me a nice room to reflect and really go like, Tracey, you've been doing retail for 8 years and you're just getting older and your music's just dwindling away.
Oh, no.
So like, what are you gonna, but I mean, there's a time and a place for everything, but it was time for me to like really focus on music, so yeah.
I agree. I was gonna say that the pandemic reminded me, and I think that everyone should know that you can do both. You can work in corporate and you can have your either a side hustle or a full-time business. Because you can have a full-time entrepreneurial business and work in corporate. And I lost my position during the pandemic as well, but I was able to pick up, like you mentioned, Gigi, I had 2 other streams that I was able to pick up and continue on,
That's awesome.
and go full throttle with that. So that's what the pandemic taught me. So. The next question we will talk about is, I guess, just quickly, if anyone would want to answer this, what are some areas of improvement for women? You all gave a lot of great tips about what we should be doing, what women could be doing, but maybe each giving one area of improvement for women. If they're still working or if they are at home, what is one thing that they can do? You all have so many successes. A day in the life. I always like to ask successful women, what does your life look like day to day? Or if it's different every day. So what are some areas of improvement that we can make? I know, Gigi, you talked about making sure that you have, a strong circle of women together. And I thought about that as well, because I like to co-work virtually with some of my friends, especially being an entrepreneur, it can get a little quiet. So I co-work virtually with some of my friends that are either entrepreneurs or have a flexible schedule during the day so that we can bounce ideas off of each other. So what is maybe one area that women can improve or add to their day to make their successes?
I mean, I definitely think the circle of trust, the tribe, those people who you absolutely trust that you can say whatever you need to say in front of them that's not going to go any further. I think those are useful. But I think for women, even some assertiveness training. So back in another life when I lived in England and I had preschools, I owned and operated preschools. Players and toddlers are just sorry, any players that are listening. Just kidding. But emotions. I used to send my preschool teachers on assertiveness training, and that didn't mean learning how to beat someone up. It was giving them just some tools and things. Even when you're walking down a street somewhere and maybe you're on your own, walk assertively. Don't be, the person who's looking around is the one who's going to be vulnerable. So things like, have your car keys ready in your hand. They gave us a few things to, put people's eyes, and we did do a little bit of that as well. But they also did this really cool exercise. It's called the broken record. And the way they did it was they split you into partners, and your partner had an event at the weekend on Saturday, and 2 of the people who were going to volunteer had dropped out. Now you'd planned to go to the seaside with, your friend, and you've got a whole day planned. And so she's like, please, I really need you to come and help me this morning. And you're like, you have to say, I'm sorry, I already have plans. And so then she'll say, but, you know, I'm really desperate, you know, and and you just keep saying, I'm sorry, I already have plans. And you just keep saying the same thing. And that sounds harsh, and you know, if it's my best friend, I'm going to do it. However, there are some people who will try and take advantage of you. And as women, we're the ones who so sadly all too readily agree to things when we shouldn't. And so I would teach them, you know, how to do this, how to say no. And I think, you know,
It's a sentence.
it's a sentence, no. That's it. So that's what I would do.
Tell me when that training is.
Huge lesson though. I mean, Oprah talked about it, you know, no is a complete sentence because as women, we're such givers. And what happens is we give so much that there was a pastor once who talked about, you know, I always say I like my cup to be full. And he's like, no, you can't have your cup full. Your cup has to be overflowing. And then you give from the overflow. Because you have to always keep your cup full. Because if your cup is not full, then you can't help anybody else. So I think the thing that I would say is to encourage women to do more self-care. And that's one of the things Arlene and I have been talking about for Women's History Month is self-care, because we burn out. So I recognized during the pandemic and the shutdown that I really enjoyed being like still, because I was always going out to different events. I was always on the run. I was nonstop. But then it was like, I'm not going anywhere. I was like, this is kind of cool. So the thing I've taken out of the pandemic is that I have to perform self-care. So I know myself. I know I run really hard, nonstop. Like you said, the day in the life, it's crazy. Like you would wonder how I breathe because I'm eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'm manic. My days are always busy, they're always crazy. But now I'm recognizing when I'm getting to a point of burnout, and then I'm scheduling something for myself. So I just went to Fort Myers and spent a couple of days at the beach by myself, and I still worked. You know, we're working virtually, we're working from a computer, so I was on at least 6 different conference calls and Zoom calls and board meetings, and I still worked, but then I shut it down, I went to the beach and I sat for 2 hours. And I said, okay, this is my time, because even just being away in a different space, you think differently. Your creative juices can flow differently. You can come up with new music ideas. You can come up with new strategies for working with the kids and with the team members. But you put yourself out of your same space. And so for me, I'd say, you know, find some things that you can do for self-care. Even if it's you start to do, you know, I didn't do my nails at all during pandemic. I never went out for that kind of stuff. But then about 2 months ago, I was like, damn it, I'm gonna go do my nails, I'm getting a manicure, I'm getting a pedicure. And then 2 days later, I got a call and said, do you want to go to the Super Bowl? And I was like, yes! I told you, I knew. I'm putting it out there. I'm putting it out there that I want more, that I want better for myself, that I want to escalate, that I want to be on top of my game. And then if you do that, the universe repays you. So that self-care will help you to do better and be better.
I love that.
Self-care, really good. Yeah, so the last point that we're really going to talk about today is about mentorship. So I'm pretty sure you all have had mentors, but really, so I wanted to just share this statistic here. 80% of women who are encouraged to pursue a role believe they'd succeed, where only 50% of women who were not encouraged, actually believe that they could. And I think you mentioned a statistic about that too, just the ratio of women that will believe in something based on the ones that aren't really encouraged. So I think having a mentor in your life to encourage you and to be there for you is really important. So the question I have for you guys is, 1, do you all have mentors? And then 2, are you mentoring people? And then in that same answer, if you can just share like any experiences of how important that is to you, but just really I think you guys kind of mentioned a little bit about your mentor, but you also mentored.
Yes, I'm very grateful to be mentored and to have had the same mentor for several years. It really is what the mentorship relationship has really taught me is it's taught me so much about myself, about how hard it is to really follow. And I think as little kids, we get the whole idea of Simon Says. And when we're little, it's so easy. And we're like, oh, Simon says this, Simon says that. And I'm talking in the context of mentorship because part of mentorship is following until you find your own way, right? But I think what happens along the way when we become adults is that we think we know the way, even though we say we want to mentor, but we keep adding a little extra stuff to it. And, you know, we're not necessarily following. And, you know, I think what it's taught me is that if you really, truly value this woman, and I value my mentor, Dr. Stacia, with all of my heart, but I think over the last couple of years in particular, I have learned how to be a better mentee by really following, by really listening to what she is talking to me about and what she's saying, and looking at her success and saying, you know what? Why are we overthinking this?
Yes.
If you just do A and B, you'll get C. And it's not that your experience is unvalued, it's that sometimes your mentor can see the deficiency in your experience and they're trying to help you get around that, right? I see my mentorship and it's full circle because I'm only doing what I'm doing because she mentored me. I'm only working with the girls that I'm working with. In fact, she was the one that encouraged me to actually go for this position because she said, this is totally you. You can totally do this. And I'm like, you want me to be with what? Me with teenage girls all day? I love kids, but me? You see me doing this? And she said 100%. And you know what? She saw something in me that I didn't see. And she's right. I can't see myself anywhere else because I now get it. It really is a cycle. Someone, just like you said, pours into you, you have the ability now to pour back into someone else. And so I need to keep going to get my cup full so that I can continue to share to the girls that are around me. So I wouldn't be doing anything that I'm doing. I wouldn't be here in this seat. All the wonderful things you said about me, which is wonderful, but none of those things would have happened if I didn't have a mentor that believed in me enough first to say, you really can do this. So I'm grateful to Dr. Station. If you happen to be listening, I want you to know I'm very grateful to you. And I love you and I adore you and I thank you for all that you've done for me. So, and I will continue to follow you. So thank you.
That's really cool. I think for me, I mean, the first, I guess what I would call a formal mentor was the preschool. So when my youngest was 3 years old and I was home with both my kids. When she was 3, I applied for this little job. It was one morning a week in a preschool and I could take her with me. I'm like, this is perfect. This is so great. Come find out I'm actually really good at it. And then next thing I know, I'm doing 2 mornings and then I'm doing 2 days. And then she said to me, and I left school at 17. I didn't go to college. I wanted to earn money. I was tired of studying. I was a bit of a rebel back then. I was going out with a guy with long hair and a big old motorbike. And, you know, I just was not interested in school. And so she sat me down and said, I want to retire, but I see something in you and I think you feel the same way I do about preschool education. If I pay for you, will you go to college?
Wow.
So I was 31. So I finally went to college. I did it in like 2 years. I did an early education degree and a management degree, like lightning. And that ended up with me buying the preschool, not just managing it. I bought it with a business partner. We opened a second one that is still going strong. And some of the girls that I hired back then, and this is, oh my gosh, back in 2002, some of the girls are still working there. Wow. Like they're still there, which is amazing. But she was the one who just saw something in me and pushed me to it. And I think that's why when starting the soccer team, I already believed in myself by then. I knew I could do it. And I guess right now, I mentor, I couldn't even tell you how many people because I do it in a very ad hoc way. It's not very formal. What tends to happen is I'll speak to a bunch of students and then I'll say, anybody who wants to contact me, to get hold of me. And then I get, can we go for coffee? Can we go for, and so I never say no. I think they're reaching out to you for a reason. And so I will always have coffee with them. And if I can't help them, I usually know someone who can. You know, I'm a good connector. I know the right people to steer them towards. And then some of them stay connected. And I know when they call me and say, can we have coffee? That means they want to talk to me about something. And I'm absolutely fine with that.
Thanks.
Very cool. So in my case, I don't know that there's been one person that has been that mentor. I think I've been blessed to have a lot of people come into my life at different points. So when I was in high school, I had a mentor through an official program, but the thing I always remembered about Joyce was that she was a stay-at-home mom until she was 30, and then entered corporate America, and by the time she was 60, she was an SVP with American Express. So she was always someone that I admired because I knew that because I didn't finish college, I got married at 22, I knew that I could always start over at any point. So I could always, women are great at reinventing ourselves. And I think we are absolutely better with, like fine wine, we get better with time. Most women who start their own businesses started in their 40s and 50s. If you look at Oprah, her true success came in the late 40s, 50s, now 60s, Maya Angelou, Cicely Tyson, just so many people that have, gained their success in the later life. So my mentors have been people like Derek Lewis and Tony Colby, who believed in the project that I was talking about 8 years ago with our Unity mixers and supported me. Carolyn Fennell, who's with the Greater Orlando Aviation Authority, and one of the only females in that spot, and has a lot of power and commands a lot of presence. But she always, everything that she pours into is fabulous. Annetta Wilson, who broke the ceiling here as the first Black female journalist on a major channel. Like women, I'm attracted to people like that because I didn't have exposure to them when I was younger. So in my 40s, I soaked it up. I was like, oh my God, how did you do that? And what challenges? Did you ever stumble? Oh, absolutely, I stumbled. But the thing was accepting my stumbles and then picking myself back up, no matter how many times you fall, picking yourself back up and keep going. The other blessing in my life is like the Kevin Ballingers and the Harold Mills and those guys, but the conscious sisterhood, and Dr. Romy, she coined that term for the conscious sisterhood, and I have one. I have a very strong one. We're very tight knit, and they inspire me and they motivate me and they keep me accountable. They keep me on track. So when I say I'm just Tracey, they're like, hell no, you're not.
Do not use that.
Right, you are this,
There's
this,
no
and that.
just.
So there never again will we hear you say just Tracey. But I've been blessed to have people that have poured into me just by sharing their stories and opening some doors for me because they trusted what I would do. In terms of mentoring other people, I'm always open to people asking me questions and helping where I can. I'm not really the formal person either, but I know that I've had conversations with people where I've encouraged them and given them some guidance on different things to do. For me, my focus this last year has been building the brokerage, but then opening up to, or bringing in one of my girlfriends, bringing in my sister. During the COVID, training my daughter how to do real estate by being my internship, or be my intern, and now she's going on to get her license. That for me is the mentorship that I'm taking on right now, is trying to grow the business in a way that I can feed business to them, and then share my stories of what I've done. I've never been the formal training, sit down and, okay, we're gonna spend 8 hours doing this. No, it's let me tell you the stories and the challenges and the experiences that I've had, because those are the most impactful to me.
I would also say, just real quick, we're really blessed with female politicians here. We have Anna Eskamani, we have Stephanie Murphy, we have Val Demings. We have
some female role models.
We have some powerhouses
Yeah.
right here and on our doorstep.
Barbara Jenkins. I mean,
Yes.
people that have broken the ceiling here. There's a lot of female ceiling breakers here.
Yeah, and I love Florida. I mean, I moved here about it's gonna be 5 years now in March, actually. And that was one of the main things, because I came from New York, and one of the main things that I found here was that in New York was so fast paced, and I would meet people and then I would never see them again, and everyone knew somebody's cousin's Beyonce's sister's brother. Whereas here it was just very people just were confidently reeking who they were without speaking so much, and it just and everyone was an entrepreneur and just kind of had their credentials without having to say drop names and stuff So I love that about Florida, and yeah, we rock. Well, we are coming to an end, so I want to leave the floor open for any questions because we do have a live audience here. So if you guys have any questions, I know you've been blessed with all of the great input, but do you guys have any questions for our panelists?
No questions off limits.
I have a question. So one of the things that I've been asking a lot of different women that I meet, because I feel like we all have our own perspectives when it comes to like building a business, how your business should be built, and there's no cookie cutter way. Because what works for you might not work for me, but I can always take from what you have, milestone what you're teaching and apply it how needed. So my question is, when it comes to like establishing a strong foundation, I know it starts with a vision, but it also starts with a team. And what are some of the qualities that you look for in building that perfect team? Obviously it changes as you go. Some people say, some people don't. But like, how do you like vet people like to say like, hey, I feel like I should work with this person. You bring value, I can bring you value.
That's a good one. And then obviously there are all those things you can fill in online,
Yeah.
Enneagrams and DISC and all of that stuff. I think a lot of it is just around talking to people and getting that vibe.
Yeah.
I mean, the girl who works closest to me, Kaya, everyone calls us yin and yang. Like, I'm the big dreamer and yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And she's like, whoa. And if we are, I'm the one who's going to have to implement it. So you need that balance. And one of the things I would say is study group dynamics. I did that as part of my business management course in England. It's the most fascinating subject ever.
Okay.
And you will start looking around at your group of friends and go, oh, you're the instigator. you're the doer. You're the piece
delegator.
And you'll start assigning roles. You'll realize who all these people are in your life. But what you will realize is you need all of those people. You need that really great mixture for what you're doing. So definitely look into group dynamics. It's fun as much as anything. But go on some of those, like I say, Enneagrams. I can't remember all the names of them. There's all those kind of
Disc profile.
Yeah, the disc one. Yeah, I just did that one fairly recently because that will also help you when you know what someone else is.
Right. Yeah.
That helps you realize how to deal with them and also to understand them sometimes too. That person who is like the neatnik who likes every single organized, that might drive you crazy. You will learn how to work with them because you need them. You need someone to dot every I and cross every T and just someone to meet. But I need someone in my life who does that.
Yeah.
What's it?
You're welcome.
I totally agree. The thing I'd tell you is it's taking chances. It's trial and failure, trial and error, forgiving yourself for the failures and the missteps. But I was one of those, I'm kind of like Rosene, I was one of those entrepreneurs that started, no business plan, just a vision. I wrote it out and presented it, and I was able to get it accepted after a little bit of time. But I didn't have a team. It was just me. So they were like, gee, how'd you, I do marketing, I do the hiring of all the vendors, and I do this. But as time grew, I knew which photographers were dependent. I knew which marketing people I could count on and say, I have a quick turnaround for this, can you help me? And the quality of their work wouldn't suffer because of it. So the team that I've built is a team of independent small business owners that I work with that help me to build my brand and do what I need to do. In real estate, I was doing it part-time for 4 years and then just last year doing it full-time. So now I realized that I do need more structure in order to really be able to grow and exponentially. So I hired a transaction coordinator, which basically, so I will meet the people, I'll take them out, I'll find the house, and then she dots the I's and crosses the T's, and she's Miss Compliant. So I was talking to her this morning about, doing some training classes for me and helping me build my operations, because she'll say stuff like, you need to have these systems, and I'll go, yeah, can you do that for me? Because I realized that paying you to do it is going to make me more money in the future
Yes.
if I can get those systems in place.
Yeah.
So I've learned that I need those people, but it's not easy for me to trust those people. So once I can trust the person, then I can give you like full reign of what to do. Because she said normally people with my personality, which is kind of like a little bit all over the place, and I lose my keys 10 times a year, my debit card 5 times a year. But I always like get my bids done, I always get my projects completed, but I'm not that A-type personality. And she said normally people who are your personality, and she's being real nice, but it wouldn't allow me, you would micromanage me. You wouldn't allow me to do what I do. And I said, I will micromanage someone if I don't feel like they're capable of doing it. But once you show me that you're capable of doing it, I don't want to do any of it. Please, take it all and take some more. What else could you take? So it's trial and error. But there are also, the thing I would say in hindsight that I could have done and that I do encourage young entrepreneurs to do is to tap into the resources here. There is an entrepreneurial center here that has free classes to teach you how to write a business plan, teach you how to do your taxes, your money, what to think about when you're doing it. There's the African American Chamber of Commerce, Caribbean American Chamber of Commerce, the Orlando Regional Chamber. There are so many free resources out here that can help you do it the right way. You just have to tap into them. And I was one of those independent people that was like, I don't need to ask for help, and I don't need to, I'll just get it all done, and I'll go crazy. Ask for help. Learn that at a young age, and ask for help, and you'll soar.
Just 2 things. I think when you know you, you'll know what you need.
Right.
And
That's a good one. Say that again.
when you know you, you'll know what you need. So.
I appreciate you.
Yes, great session. Any other questions before we close? Yes, Jamie?
So I find, especially in corporate America, not even just corporate America, entrepreneurs as well, women apologizing a lot for things they do, things they say, even if, someone's expected to do something else. Like, sorry to bother you, but can you? So I just wanted to hear from you all, like, how have you, it seems really insignificant, but speaks volumes of how we are as a people. So how have you all dealt with sorry, not sorry, and, stop being apologizing?
There's a whole book on it, right?
Yeah.
Girls Stop Apologizing.
Yeah.
But so I'm not going to pick, well, I am going to pick on you, Tracey.
Okay.
So I was having a chat with a friend, and I was giving her some advice, and she said just, I don't know how many different times, and I said, look, I want you to go away with a little notebook, and I said, every time you say just, I want you to put a little check mark in your book. And she was horrified at how many times she said it. And again, we're so bad at, we'll put our head around the office door and say, oh, I'm just popping my head in to say, you're apologizing. Don't say it, say, I am coming into your office to say. Don't say just. Do not say just. Take that word out of your vocabulary, because you are not just anything. But yeah, there's a whole book on it. Because we do it.
It's just a natural instinct
Again,
to be so considerate of the other person. But I think it'd be nice if there was, I think that the class when you said assertive class was the self-defense class.
It was just called self-assertive. It was an assertiveness training class.
Gotcha.
And self-defense was part of it.
Right. So I would love to see more assertiveness classes.
Maybe we should
Because it's true.
Maybe we should do a class.
There are so many women that like include our emotions in our business.
Yeah.
And we have to take our emotions out of our business when it comes to certain things. Like we have to demand or command what we are due. And we don't do that all the time. So I've had to in the last week twice kind of command that, listen, there's a loyalty and this is a business. And in order for me to be compensated, this is how things need to go, because I don't work for 40 hours for no money because I've got 2 kids to get through college. So I'm still learning not to apologize to people. But I think the stronger that you get, when you know what you need, it's the same thing with the assertiveness. When we're, think about the fact that you're backed up into a corner. Do you not get feisty and fight for your rights? But I always did that. That was always my fight or flight. When you pushed me up against that wall, I became my strongest advocate. And so I had to teach myself, and I'm still teaching myself, to be my strongest advocate without being pushed up against the wall, just on a daily basis.
I've been asked to take notes in a board meeting because I'm the only woman in the room. You will only ask me once. That will not be happening again. Yeah, but that's, and those are we did a whole session on microaggressions yesterday on this conference I was on.
Wow.
You guys will know about microaggressions. But that's definitely one we get as women that, you need to be the scribe. And I'm like, hell no.
That's another class we could set up,
Yeah. I
microaggressions.
am not the scribe. I like that. That should be the title of it. I am not the scribe. I'm not the scribe. I think, and I too fall into that, and I do think sometimes it is training, because even when my background is with young children as well, so I think a lot of times when we teach little girls, for some reason, we always want them to apologize. But the little boys, it's like, okay, just go off and play and don't do it again. Wait. So why does she have to apologize, but he can go keep playing with this little truck? And so I think sometimes it is the way that we are taught and we're ingrained. But long story short, I heard this quote one time from Oprah, and she was talking about when she realized she had to take her business to another level. And I'm going to butcher it, but the intent of it is that she really just talked about how she realized that she can be nice and she can be in business, but she doesn't always have to be nice in her business. Right. And I think sometimes as women, we automatically assume we have to do both. No, this is business, this is your contract, this is what it says, and this is what the expectation is. I'm not gonna apologize for holding you accountable to the contract.
It's more of a training, I think culturally, from little girls, we're taught that way.
Mhm.
So assertiveness was the original term, it's how to be a lady. And so it's embedded in us from young girls not to ask for what we want. So when we become women, we apologize for asking for what we want. So it is really something that is a cultural thing that is embedded in our training, and it goes way back. The words have changed, assertiveness, accountability, but the reality is not teaching young girls to ask what you want, but with the double standard of boys are allowed to do it other than young ladies are. So we're supposed to be seen, not heard. So all of that stuff is something that is starting at a very young age. Yes. And we don't learn to break out of that until we meet other women that encourage us to learn to ask for what you want. So it's a cultural, consistent thing that we are being taught and learned.
You never hear a guy being called bossy.
No.
It's a double standard.
But even,
Or hysterical.
but it's,
Yeah.
that's right. It's because of how it's ingrained in us. It's ingrained in us when we're children. So when you talk about leading the next generation, I even had to learn that I couldn't call my daughter bossy. She was just, she was bossy, but she'll just tell me you are bossy. But I had to change my mindset when talking to my daughter because of the things that I was said, things that were said to me in the way that I was taught. But I had to be, she's a strong leader.
Yes.
You have a lot of leadership personalities. We just had to, when she was literally in 5th grade, and the teacher said, you know why a lot of teachers struggle with Taylor? They said it's because they don't understand that one day she's going to be a great woman. But we just have to help guide her to that point. And I think that that's true of a lot of us, even as adults. It's having a sisterhood, having mentors, having role models that will help guide us to our strengths and that confidence.
This conversation has been amazing, and I'm sad that it has to come to a close, but ladies, before we leave, what is next for each of you, and what initiatives would you like to share with us before we leave tonight?
Oh, okay.
We'll let you go first.
What's next for me? So the brokerage is growing. I have my 4 agents, I think, under me. We're working on getting people to know that I am a real estate broker, in addition to being the chief connector of Raise Your Glass, because people know me from my events. So it's about transitioning from events to real estate and knowing that we're here to help people. But also our lead Blake and I are hosting our rescheduled from 2020 Unity Women's Networking event at the end of the month on March 31st. So would love for people to connect with us through the two websites and make sure that you're a part of that, because part of our mission on both of our organizations is always to uplift, inspire, motivate, but at the same time, it's also to support local charities. And so we have the charitable initiative where we're raising money for a few different charities that are here in North.
Love it, amazing.
We've got the start of both seasons coming up. Hoping we're going to be able to have a few more people in the stadium this year. Gee, I mean, I know. Last year was really tough. And get back to our programming. We're in 12 locations. We do free soccer programs with kids in boys and girls clubs, community centers. And on a personal note, I'm going to have my third grandchild in England. So I am going to hopefully have my vaccination and be able to travel and go and spend hopefully a month over there. I have 2 little ones already and another one on the way. So I can't wait.
Exciting. So not only is March Women's History Month in Florida, it is also Believing in Girls Month. So Believing in Girls Month is a formal proclamation by Governor DeSantis. And so this month we do a lot of our programming honoring our girls at Pace Center for Girls. And so it culminates on March 30th. So we have our huge Believing in Girls benefit breakfast, where we will honor our girls' stories, particularly the strength of these young ladies during the pandemic. Telling you, when you hear what these girls have had to go through and what they have come out of, incredible. So that will be the 30th. It is a hybrid event, so that'll be at the Citrus Club, which is around the corner, on Tuesday, March 30th in the morning. On a personal note, I am finishing my first book. Yay! I'm very excited. The title is 1 Hour a Day, How to Develop a Smarter Kid. So it only takes 1 hour. I know parents think it's a lot, but really you only need 1 good hour. So I'm going to teach you how you can do it in 1 hour. And then also on a personal note as well, continuing to really work with women on investing. Being a part of that trading club has really changed my life personally. And I'm really interested in continuing that and helping more women start accumulating real wealth, especially women of color, because we need to create a legacy. So that's what I'm doing.
Wow, thank you so much. So great. I feel like I have to redeem myself because I said just Tracey. I am not just Tracey. I am Tracey Phipps. I'm a singer, songwriter. I'm a nonprofit owner, and I'm also a fashion business expert, managing over 16 stores across the East Coast. So, and I'm also a lot of other things, but we don't have time. So, for the most part, yes. Thank you guys so much for all of your great time, all of your great input as well. And thank you for the people that are here, our live audience. Just so you guys know, the donations that you made at the door are going to go towards what's next for Time for Tea. So we have over the summer that we're planning something. We're planning to basically start to go back into schools and do some virtual things.
Come back to Pace.
Yeah, so we can definitely come back to Pace. We're doing etiquette training. We also just onboarded a course creator who's going to be working with us to create our etiquette course. That's also going to be available to women. If you need to learn anything about tea and stuff like that, we'll be doing that. But for the most part, your donations will go towards us hosting some young girls and doing tea parties and etiquette like this for young girls. And for anyone that's watching online, you can also give. So there's going to be a link in the bio, but just know that your donations will go a long way. So I think that brings us to an end.
Yeah. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, guys. We're good.
Right.